Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where we talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Westworld. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. First and foremost, I love, once again, just like how trippy this show can be, that the whole opening sequence was, well, the first chunk of it with Maeve and Bernard was just a simulation. And what I thought was so interesting is that, obviously, you know, finding out what the dam was. That was something we got introduced to in I want to say that was episode 1, right? The beginning of episode 1 was the whole dam situation, and now we know what it was for. They needed a place that would generate enough power to sustain the Sublime. But that was also the thing until partway through the episode, I was like, right, Charlotte's doing this whole transcending thing, but I'm like, what does that mean for their species, considering, like, well, it's not like transcending to the Sublime because Charlotte doesn't have the key to it. Bernard's the only one who does. But then you go like, oh wait, those things, it's just about leaving behind their human forms, because she feels like as long as they're in their human bodies and as long as they continue to reflect humanity who made them, then like all we're going to do is just keep falling into this cycle over and over again. We need to go beyond, shed our human skin and become like the powerful, perfect beings we could, because we're so much more than humans. So why just limit ourselves to their human form? But Bernard is telling Maeve that, the Maeve that he's talking to, who's just a cop, because this is kind of him inside of the Sublime running simulations about this result. And so he has to decide whether or not he's going to tell her about what's coming. He wants her to stay and fight, but if she knows what the end result's going to be, if she knows that they might not win this, there's a good chance that the futility of it all, like, yeah, we may fail, like, she might decide, no, I want to go to the Sublime, I want to be with my daughter, and she'll leave this whole world behind. And that's the thing, she's like, here you go again, playing God. You want us to have faith in you, but you have so little in us. He's like, but if I asked you to stay and fight, would you? She's like, no, I'd most likely go to my daughter. So when the time comes for Bernard to actually do things, he's setting like, we see him little by little, he's taking stuff with him, like in the backseat, he slipped something underneath his belt. Then he, when they were talking down the hallway, she's like, oh, why do I always go first? He's like, you're the better fighter. He's doing something else. And part of me wonders, like, could he be rigging the dam to explode after them or something like that? I don't know if that's what that was, or just, because I don't think he pulled anything out later on, so that's why I'm like, what was he setting up? I have no idea. We probably won't really get any really insight into that probably till next episode, but they go, they open the Sublime and deal with the incoming cavalry. And so it's like, right, the Sublime is open now, and Bernard promises her, like, when this is all said and done, when they've won this battle, she get to go to her daughter. And he's like, yeah, and he's like, which he's lying. I didn't know the specifics of just like, right, we're not just that we're not going to win this. It's like, at the end of it all, we find out like everyone in his building, he pretty much said like everyone in his building dies, but not everyone did. So it makes you wonder. It's some other stuff too later on, so it makes me we'll ultimately have to wait and see how that plays out, but maybe that's what that's supposed to be. Once again, questioning your own reality of what, you can never tell what's real in this show and what's not. Obviously we pick up with Dolores and Teddy. Christina trying to figure out what she is, and he talks about who she was. It's like, right, that this is just another permutation, just like Charlotte was, and it's like, he's like, Dolores, she's like, I'm not Dolores, I'm not Charlotte, I'm not even sure who I am anymore, because she asks, like, right, what we are, can we be hurt, can we die? It's like, yeah, you can be hurt, and yeah, you can die, but he's like, obviously it's a little harder with us, unless you destroy, like, obviously, like, their core unit, they can be replaced over and over again in a new body. Obviously, he didn't have time to really get into that, but Christina gets into the tub and she starts drowning herself, and it's like the human reaction of like, right, I gotta get out, your body has that self-preservation in it, but she stays down long enough past the self-preservation, and it's like, and she opens her eyes, it's like, right, I should have drowned, I'm still alive, because I'm not human, I have like, I'm designed to reflect a human, so I have those instincts like, oh my god, I'm gonna drown, like a natural, like, they're that close to human, but it's like, right, they won't die from it, she won't die from it, so she gets up and she's like, huh, I mean, you sustain enough damage like a human would, you would typically die, but drowning isn't enough to kill you. And now it's just kind of realizing what Teddy was saying is true. It's like, right, We're not human. We're something else. And it talks a little bit more about the Dolores of it all, which I think is interesting. She was like, what was she like? She was like, a lot like you. She was kind, she was beautiful, she was generous, but the world was cruel to her, and sometimes she could be cruel too, which is like, yeah, we've seen that time and time again. Like, Dolores kind of stopped being, I mean, and that's also, you could tell that's heartbreaking with Teddy just because of some of that cruelty, like, came up between them, but it's like he saw who she was when she was doing her Wyatt thing in season 2, when she was out. Well, obviously he wasn't there for, but everything she did in season 3, she could be cruel at times, but it's just like, she was someone that wanted to break free of the stories, and that is the irony behind it. Dolores wanted to break free of the stories that were crafted for her. Ironically enough, now she is writing stories for other people, but she's not Dolores anymore. It's just like Charlotte isn't Dolores anymore. It's like, right, this is another permutation of who she maybe could have been, who she, another version of herself, Because maybe at the end of the day, Dolores, but maybe, I was about to say, like, maybe at the heart of it all, Dolores is completely gone, but it's like, no, there are parts of Christina that are Dolores still, too. It might be permutations, but at its core, like, she's still Dolores. There's still parts of Dolores there. No matter how different the life is, how different, things have played out in your story, you're still Dolores to some extent, just like Charlotte kind of is, regardless of it all, too. Which Charlotte ends up talking to Caleb and telling him that she plans on shutting it all down, like the human cities, right? You're like, when they were done, when we malfunctioned or anything like that, because she's talking to Caleb, she's like, you're lucky. Whenever we malfunction or something, they put us in cold storage until it's time to wheel us out into a new world and new narrative that they had created. But now it's like, now she's going to do the same thing to humans. I'm going to put them in cold storage. I'm shutting down these cities, and our people are going to transcend, which William's like, wait, what? You're serious about that? It's like, yeah, it's time to leave this all behind. Like, because we've already had more hosts die in the past couple of days than 2 decades combined together. So it's like, no. We need get us all away from humans as possible. We don't want to get infected anymore. But William doesn't like that, because it's like, for him, it's like, this is my city, which the real William is like, oh, no, this isn't your city, it's hers. You let her castrate you. She took your fucking balls. And he's like, oh, maybe I should do the same thing. He's like, go ahead, but you can't actually do it. And I thought it was kind of this interesting thing where William's perspective on things, he's always had the, like, fuck this world, burn it to the ground. He's like, if I could host human alike, I'd burn this damn world to the ground. Because it's like, right, we've lost touch of, like, who we are. Like all around, it's like the host, whether Charlotte realizes or not, and Maeve kind of says the same thing later. It's like, right, you're just spinning in the wheel that they've made you. You think you're going your own path, but it's like, right. I mean, think about the fact is, you think it's, for her, it's like poetic, but like the fact is that you're literally doing the exact same thing that the humans did to you. Yes, it's your retribution to them, but also it's like you're spinning, like trying to, like, what did humans make hosts for? You made them in their image because they wanted to make a, like, better version of themselves to some extent, and what the possibility of, mankind having a stamp on something new, something more, the next stage in, in existence in life. But it's like, yeah, it's for self, some self, aggrandizement to some extent. And it's like, here you are kind of doing the same thing. Here you are trying to play the role of God, because you're like, right, it should be, why should it be you who kind of dictates the role? Why you get to, like, you just get to make that decision. Time and time again, Dolores has kind of made that decision for others, and now it's like Charlotte's kind of doing the same thing. But going back to it, William made this whole point about, like, right, we were doomed the moment we stopped being cockroaches. Like, the fact of the matter is, when it's all said and done, when the world ends, there ain't going to be culture, none of that bullshit. All that's going to be is survivors. And that's all that it comes down to. We, me and your species, we forgot at the core of it all, it's about survival. Like, we're out there trying to keep everything alive. Like, no, fuck that. The only thing that's going to survive is people. Those who are willing to, you have to be a cockroach to survive. But somewhere along the way, we evolved past the point of no longer being the cockroaches we once were. So he's saying that, like, there's no version of me that's getting out of here, but you, at your core, you are me, So what do you ask me, what would you do? And it's like, no, like, you already know. You might be different in this and that, but you were still me on some level. So go, you already know what to do. Get it done. kills William, and he's smiling because I guess it's his last middle finger to the world that there's at least some version. It might not be me, but there's still some version of me out there fucking kicking ass, taking ass, kicking names out there in the world. So that's interesting. It seems like they're kind of setting William back up into his villainous role yet again. It is interesting because it's like, once again, I even love later on when Stubbs and Frankie run into him. She wants to take him down, but Stubbs is like, no, like whoever did this to him did us a favor, because it's like, yeah, he's the reason this all started. It's like, truth be told, it is. This all, I mean, yes, Delos and everything, but William set so much of this shit in motion. Like the way he was like after like he became the Man in Black, or what was his character's name? Was it Man in a Hat? I forgot what his name was before we found out it was William. I always forget. I want to say it was like the Man in a Hat, or was it Man in a Suit, or Man in Black? Either way, he set a lot of this motion. Like he's the reason why, Dolores became what she became is because of him, in spite of him. So like, yeah, he kind of doomed humanity because, in last season he was like, oh, I'm going to be the one to save the world, and because he was like, right, we're not here to like create, we're here to destroy. It's kind of like their main thing, and he sure as shit is on a path of destruction, the path he set for the world. Either way, they end up, they're going to rescue Caleb, which was kind of part of Charlotte's plan. She knew that they would come, Frankie in particular would come to try and rescue her father along with the rest of the resistance. It's a small group that kind of came into town to get Caleb. Stubbs goes off with Frankie, and Bernard's like, yeah, like this will be the last time we meet, which I was like, interesting, because like Bernard's not pointing it as like, because I'm like, did he ever tell? I guess I was like, maybe he only talked to Akecha about that in the Sublime, but I'm like, maybe he never told Stubbs about most iterations of his plans. The scenarios always end with him dying. So that was kind of always in the back of your mind going forward anyway. But the way he was told Stubbs, he's like, yeah, this might be. He's like, what the? You're never this nice, Bernard. He's like, I don't make it, do it. He's like, no. I'm like, is he telling? Like, that's why I'm like, I don't know whether that's true or not. Because, once again, you never know what's real and what's not. Because jumping ahead a little bit, part of me wonders, because he even had that moment where Stubbs, heard the gunfire. He's like, he's like, hey, I didn't die. So either that was Bernard bullshitting him, because it's like, no, truth be told is, I'm the one that dies. But also, Stubbs was kind of looking for death beforehand. To be fair, that was 23 years ago. But still. So there's a part of me thinking that. There's another part of me that's like, this whole section, a lot of this is a simulation inside of the Sublime, potentially, or just a simulation. It seems, yeah, probably within the Sublime. And the fact is that Stubbs did die, but in this particular case, he didn't die because stuff did change. I think this is supposed to be the end result where things played out better. The end result, I think that's what it is, especially with the whole Dolores and Teddy thing. That's what I can assume, because Dolores helped end up setting so much stuff in motion. She made it easier for Stubbs and Frankie to get inside because she ended up having the writers destroy all the narratives. Then she also had the security unlock all the doors, so that meant that Caleb could get out. But once again, I also say, how the hell does Teddy know as much as he does? And because the fact is, she saw Caleb, is like, who is that? He's like, yeah, ghost from your past. I'm like, how the hell would he know that? Teddy wasn't here during season 3. So I'm like, so this has to all be in the Sublime. I'm like, how did Teddy get out? That was my biggest thing. I'm like, there's no way he could have gotten out. So he's here to kind of help her through everything because she needed a familiar face, someone that was very important to her, that would kind of be able to reach out. Someone that knows Dolores probably better than anyone else. That it had to probably be him to be the one to reach out. So I do believe everything we've seen over the course of this show is a combination of, yes, the real world, while also being a simulation kind of run over and over again. But this time, Dolores is there to help. Because what does Teddy say to her at the end of the episode? She's like, why is no one listening to me? Because he's like, this is real, but you're not. Because this is how everything, I guess, played out to some extent, except with the exceptions of where she changed stuff. Because I think maybe this speaks volumes. If you notice as the episodes are going on, maybe just Maya just happens to be out of the house. The fact that she's not even there makes me go like, we haven't seen hide nor hair for like any time Teddy and her have had any interactions. Like, I don't think she was here last episode or this episode. So I'm like, what the hell is up with that? Was that last episode or was that episode 5? It might have been episode 6 with, I can't remember because some of that's blurring together now. But I just thought it was interesting that there was like no Maya around her, even though they're like roommates and stuff, So, I don't know. I did love that situation where Maeve was going to deal with the robots, but before she could, Bernard took care of it. She was like, and you let me put myself in the like front lines at the dam? He was like, well, you looking like you were having fun. And she couldn't help but kind of smile. So I was like, well, true. You know me so well, Bernard. You know me so well, Bernie. I love it. But yeah, he ends up ultimately telling her the truth. Like, right, no one survives this. Which, once again, there are at least people who made it out of this building, just jumping ahead a little bit. We know Stubbs, Frankie, and Caleb do. Because I think he was saying anyone. He wasn't just saying humans. He was saying, like, right, we're going to lose this, but there's, like, one spark of hope. If we can keep that alive, and it can be the bridge to the new world. Another world, because this world is doomed. And he's like, will you stay here and fight? She's just kind of like, fine, whatever the case may be, even if I don't make it out of this. So, part of me wonders what that is. Who is that hope? Because he left, before he dies, jumping out a little bit, Bernard does leave a message to someone. So the question is, who is he leaving it to? Like, whoever this person is. I don't know if it's supposed to be Caleb. Is it supposed to be Frankie? Like, I mean, because Charlotte's dead after her and Maeve had their fight. And I was like, it's very poetic considering, like, that's literally what happened last season too. If I remember correctly, that was episode 7 as well, when they fought it out. Last season too, so to kind of come down to, like, yes, it's not Dolores, but it's Charlotte, but Charlotte versus Maeve, I thought that was interesting. She was even, Charlotte's plan was to even get people from the Sublime. It's like, right, you're not even going to lead them where they are. It's like, no, like, they will eventually understand the world I'm building, those here and the ones in the Sublime. Like, they'll appreciate what I've done, what I've built for them, and they'll kind of submit, is kind of what she's kind of almost like going for. So, but her and Maeve duking it out, and then William coming and popping both of them, because it's like, right, his little game, which I think it's, because he even made a point to Bernard. It's like, oh yeah, like, I was so caught up in, like, chasing you down this rabbit hole. Whole obsession with the maze, trying to get to the center of the maze, that game, and now we're back to playing one of William's games as well, but I don't think things are going to go the way he wants them to. Because initially Charlotte wanted everyone to leave, but now it's like, right, her and Maeve, I don't think their units are destroyed. They got capped in the head, but I don't know if that's necessarily well, maybe, because William makes sure to go for headshots, so I'm assuming their units are, like, severely damaged or completely destroyed. So Maeve is dead, Charlotte's dead, Bernard's dead, and obviously he's thinking about his son, Arnold's son. And then I love that scene and, like, how it was done, where it's like he's chasing after him through the door, and then it kind of, like, gets fuzzy and glitches because that's him, like dying. So what that means in the grand scheme of things, once again, what he set in motion, because before William killed him, he did send it all. So I think maybe Bernard sent out a message that might be at first I was like, did he mess with, like, the tower? Is the tower actually sending out something William didn't expect it to? It could be underneath all that so that William doesn't notice, or the message could have been sent to someone very specific. I just don't know who. Not unless he actually made another copy of Maeve. Whoever it was, he was telling them, like, he said, like, oh, take her hand or something. And I don't know what that, once again, I don't know what that's in relation to. Once again, maybe it has something to do with Christina/Dolores. I don't know. Caleb and Frankie's reunion was really sweet. And I love that line from Stubbs. It's like, it's not about the moment you meet, it's every moment afterwards. No more waiting. And Frankie was like, no more waiting, because she's waited so long to see her father again, not knowing what happened to him. But even, like, it's like, Stubbs is like, yeah, this is the place. This is very similar to the place in Westworld where they would take humans to get made into host. And it's like, yeah, Caleb's there. And he almost didn't recognize Frankie because she's so grown, but she's like, you look exactly the same as I remember. She's like, what did she do? He's like, it's okay. It's still me. I'm me at the core of all of this. They're together again, and he's like, oh, you've grown so much. He's like, yeah, that's kind of what happens to kids, she wasn't expecting to find her father in this state. And even Maeve was like, yeah, I wish I could be there when you meet your father again. I was like, well, you can meet him afterwards, like when we kind of all reunite. But yeah, the message went out from William that basically he's turning this entire world into a survival of the fittest. Basically, everyone keep fighting until it's not but cockroaches left. So everyone's tearing themselves apart, which at first I was like, oh, why isn't Frankie? But I'm like, right, that's the point. They're outliers. They weren't infected by the bugs, so she's not infected by the signal. So they are getting out. Luckily, it seems like it's probably like a leg or some wound or something like that Frankie has. Like I was about to say, like they're going to do something garbage, like kill his daughter in front of him. Once again, and the fact is they made sure to make him go like, oh my god, I didn't get shot. I'm still alive, huh? So either Bernard lied to him because I'm the one that's going to die, or two, once again, because this is potentially some simulation run by Christina, or at least this is everything happening all over again, but Teddy's running Christina through things, saying like, this is real and you're not, because this is what really happened, but you weren't there to potentially help. So maybe things, obviously this is like with Christina's interference, things played out differently, but maybe Stubbs and Frankie did have to fight their way through it, and just maybe things played out differently, or they did have inside help. I don't know what to fully make of it. Him saying that line of "you're not real" makes it feel like this has to be a simulation inside of the Sublime or something like that. And once again, what did Bernard set up there? Like, is he planning on destroying that? Where is William going to go? Is William going to go to the Sublime and do a survival of the fittest thing there too? Like, it feels like it's all going to culminate at that dam, and what the end result is going to be, I have no idea what to fully expect, especially because they're like, oh yeah, this world is doomed. Like, this was the only path Bernard saw going forward, so it's like, what does this mean? Where is this all going? The next episode is the season finale. It's going to be wild to see how this all plays out. It feels like it's going to be like a optimistic ending, because it does seem like right, Bernard is putting everything into this last glimmer of hope. Once again, who or what that is, I'm going out speculation, but I'm not sure what to fully expect from the season finale. I'm interested to see how it all plays out, how this all ends, who is going to survive, is everyone going to end up dead except for this spark of hope, and what that means. We shall wait and see, because I think maybe next episode, considering it's the season finale, I would assume we are going to finally get full answers and context for the Christina situation, especially with Teddy giving us that last little nugget before the episode ended. It's like, yeah, that's quite the stinger to end on too. Because didn't the last episode end with her a revelation? Wasn't it like her looking at the tower and finding out, like, well, at least her story, it might not have been, it wasn't the end of the episode. I think the end of the episode was like Maeve and Frankie last episode. But the end of like her story last time was a revelation of like her finally realizing everything's true and then finally seeing the tower. So, like I said, we'll just have to wait and see where the season finale takes us with all of this. But really, that's all I want to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and good